Welcome back to the BA Podcast. Your boy C-Roc here in Las Colinas at the Ritz. We are at the February edition of the Board of Advisors Meetup. Always a pleasure to be here. So many amazing people, just like my next guest, Carl Gould.
Hey, man.
Thanks for joining me, man.
How you doing?
Appreciate it. Yeah, this guy's pretty phenomenal. I met him originally through Ray Perez. He was telling me about this guy, Carl, that he's worked with. And he's like, this dude is just an amazing human being. And I love amazing human beings because it's like, it takes one to know one, right?
You are one already.
I've been told.
Listen,
I try to operate that way.
Got to travel in the same circle.
Yeah, exactly.
I get you.
So, and then we did a small group together last time. If you recall.
We did the forums, yeah.
Yeah, the forums,
yeah.
and it was awesome. It was an awesome experience, and you can tell somebody if they're authentic when you get into those intimate, vulnerable, environments, right? So. Let's start there. Like, where did you, I guess, pick that up? I mean, you picked it up at other places, and then,
Yeah, I mean, that forum concept I've done many times. It's a common peer-to-peer mentoring format, and I've done it through Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, for years. Mm-hmm. I was part of a forum, and I've been part of multiple forums and mastermind groups over the last 20 years, and I like those small, intimate groups. You can get talking and you can get past the daily BS, and you can get to stuff that's real and be authentic, when it's just a handful of people in a room and you can kind of dive deep into a topic,
I was at a group, it was a Zoom call. I hate Zoom calls, but we had a weekly call, and there's a guy in there, and it was intimate and vulnerable, and he said he can't go to Vegas. We were all going to go to Vegas next time. He said, I can't go to Vegas. I'm banned for 40 years.
Really?
And I'm like, what?
I want to party with that dude. This is a guy that
you would never guess he would say this, right? And he said, I've been banned for 40 years. I was street racing, and when you lose, you get their car.
Oh, right.
And he said he gained 48 cars. Some obnoxious story, but we would have never guessed if we weren't in this little vulnerable container. Oh, because these things are powerful.
Yeah.
But it's also cool is that, and by the way, we didn't have that anonymous non-disclosure in our group. I mean, I didn't say the guy's name, but you had the non-disclosure. So it's really safe space as well.
Yeah, and very confidential. So that way you feel like when you share something, you're not going to hear somebody talking about it in the hallway or someone's going to come back and say, hey, heard you were talking to so-and-so about whatever, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. Like what?
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, and you mentioned this, and I always experience this, and I'm very aligned with what you said about that, is that when we go home to, I think it was around the holidays last time when we met, and when you go back to the holidays, you're around family and friends, and they just don't get what it's like to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, look, there's so few people understand the experience. There's not that many of us. It's 1 out of 15 people's an entrepreneur. And if you get to certain levels of success, you could be up to 1 in 600 people, 1 in 6,000 people. And so it's hard to be in an environment where people can relate to what you're going through and really understand what it's like. Because from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, you've got all this time, you're making all this money, you got all this. That must be you're lucky. Or it's easy, one of the two.
Or they assume you have all this money and you just invested a crap ton of money into the business and cash flow's tight. Or you had a setback, or it's good and bad
100%,
stuff,
yeah. Right? So you carry the weight of every person in the company, every family that's got to eat because of your work, and all the clients. Sometimes it might not be the hardest physical job, but mentally it's by far the hardest job.
Yeah, I remember I was working in the mortgage business with 3 of my best friends, and we were growing this company together. And I got into podcasting, and I started being around celebrities and different people that big business people that top in their space, and I'm always putting them on a pedestal because admiring them, right?
Yeah.
And I would go to them after I'd have a podcast, or I'd go to an event and hang out with them. And they'd be like, and I thought they'd be so excited, right? And they'd be like, oh, really? Yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, really? Are you kidding me? My wife too, sometimes she's like, she's not a big deal with celebrities. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. But
you know what it takes to get in those rooms?
Yeah, they can't relate to it. And so you got to be careful what you share with people, I guess.
What you share and with whom you share it.
Yeah.
Because they can't. It's got to be something that they can relate to.
Yeah. Well, I guess also that leads us to our next topic, which is being obnoxious. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can be considered obnoxious, right? And you have a new book coming out.
Yep.
The Obnoxious Offer.
Called The Obnoxious Offer. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So it started out I mean, the first time I was called obnoxious, this is probably my family would tell me, Carl, this is the right book for you to write because you're obnoxious. But I remember being in 7th grade and I was telling some joke and everyone was laughing. And my teacher says to me, Carl, you're being obnoxious. And I thought it was a compliment. I didn't know what it meant.
It does sound like, if you didn't know, it could be kind of cool.
And then I could tell by the stink eye I was getting from my teacher, like, it's probably not a good thing. So I go home and that night I look it up. I was like, oh, whoa, okay, that's not a very nice thing. But fast forward, I'm in my contracting business, and I put together this guarantee program where if I took the 5 complaints that I was hearing from clients, and they were saying, you contractors never start on time, you never finish on time, you don't stand behind your work. There's a bunch of kids running around my property that I've got to manage, and you change order me to death, And so I created a program where I guarantee those 5 things would not happen to you if you hired me.
You listened.
Yeah, right. And I just took the complaints and I said, look, here's the standard plan, the one you're used to, and here's the guarantee. And somebody called me obnoxious. They said, your pricing's obnoxious, your business is obnoxious. I'm like, now that's 2 times something. There's a pattern here. But then they hired me. And I was like, wait a minute. Why did they hire me? And I realized, because I was only 19 at the time, I didn't really understand business. It was my first year in business.
It's a long time ago, huh?
Yeah. It's been weeks. This is my 41st year in business. Okay. 41st year. Man. Yeah, thanks, man. So it doesn't show at all.
I want to look up the definition of obnoxious real quick, because I think a lot of people have common misconceptions.
What does it say?
Right? Extremely unpleasant. That's one definition. That doesn't mean it's all of them.
Yep.
And then let's see. An obnoxious person is someone who is extremely unpleasant, offensive, or annoying due to being loud, rude, aggressive, or inconsiderate of others. Feelings and space often attract an unwanted attention or making situations intolerable. Now, I was hoping to see something different where you could say, it's not the word obnoxious.
It's not what you think.
What is obnoxious is what matters.
Yeah, you didn't find anything good in there, right?
There might be some other definitions. But I'm just going to leave it at that. But that's
not
okay.
At all.
No, that's okay.
So I did. So I realized I got hired, and it bugged me the whole week. I'm like, why did they hire me after he just ripped me a new one? And I realized that the value that I was offering was obnoxious as well, meaning it was super high value. Yep. I guaranteed I would start on time. I guaranteed I would finish on time. And if anything went wrong and I missed anything, he got to keep the entire project, and I wrote him a check back for the whole thing at the end if I missed. Like it was a ballsy move at the time, right? And so it worked out well. I did not have to give the money back. Everything worked out. But that became the number one selling program I had in my business. And that company doubled every year for 7 years. And then I sold it. Started out my next business, did the Obnoxious Offer again. Every business I've done since. And now as an advisor, I advise my clients to have an obnoxious offer, which is obnoxious in value, meaning it's a no-brainer totally, but it's at a premium price. And so the Obnoxious Offer book is about how to elevate the relationship you have with your clients. So where you're offering them tremendous value, but you're getting paid for it.
Yeah, it's over-promising and over-delivering.
For a premium price.
Why did it take you so long to write the book? Because it was 19.
Didn't want to be obnoxious. I didn't want to prove my family right. That's what I wanted. Well, it's funny because I've been advising on it for years, and I even have a couple keynote presentations where I talk about it. And somebody, I never thought about writing, because me, it's super simple, it's super straightforward. And I said, it's not a book. But a few people came to me and like, dude, that's a book. Yeah. You got to write that book. Yeah. And I'm like, I've been talking about it I'm like, we know, and we do it, and it works. And people love the presentation. So I'm like, it's got to be a book. And so it did take me a while to get around to it, 20 years, because I've been doing it forever in my own businesses and with my clients. But so I'm just doing it now.
Now, writing a book has changed over the years. Right?
Yeah.
Like back in the day, they had typewriters, right? Or maybe they wrote them by hand, then typewriters. Obviously, you had then to talk to speech to text.
Yep.
You could transcribe a podcast or video and then take that and then use it. Now we have AI. So and a lot of people say, if you use AI, you're not really, I disagree with that. Because if I feel like if I'm using AI and I brain dump into the AI and then I tell AI to structure it for me, that's efficient.
All
what are your thoughts on that?
AI is a research tool. It's a research tool.
Yeah.
It doesn't make stuff up on its own.
But it's also a structure tool, and it can actually format if I brain dump a bunch of paragraphs together.
If you hire a copywriter or you hire an editing team
or anything,
they're going to do it. They're just going to do it faster and more efficient. So I don't have a problem with that at all. So to me, AI is a good assistant. Jim Collins wrote Good to Great, and he had a team of like 9 people who did research.
What's the difference?
There's no difference.
Well, this is faster, more efficient.
Faster, more efficient, and you don't need 9 people. You don't have 9 mouths to feed.
Now, I think some people's concern is copyright infringement, but if you're putting the content in it and you're just telling it to structure it and edit it for you.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't say write me a book on somebody else's content. That's different. But
that's plagiarism. So the obnoxious offer is something unique, and I've got to create and no matter how much AI or research tools I use, I still have to break down the anatomy of it, and I still have to share the stories, which no one knows but me and my clients who gave me permission to talk about it, because everything I do is confidential, and I only used to reveal this to my clients and the framework on it in a keynote, but that's the only people that have ever heard it.
Yeah.
So I had some work to do to make sure that, I contributed, and then, I had other research tools that filled in some of the blanks.
Now, what's the vision with this once it gets out there? If you could have it your way, what would have to happen with the book, the whole idea of the obnoxious offer, to really light you up that it happened?
Yeah. So my goal with the obnoxious offer and with the book and everything is, if you have an obnoxious offer in your business, that means you are communicating to your passionate customers at the highest level, right? So if I'm Taylor Swift, I'm putting on a concert and I'm having meet and greets with my fans, and I'm going outside before the concert, and I'm meeting with fans, and I'm like, she brings people to her home to audition her album. It is the closest, most collaborative partnership with your clients you can imagine. And just think about something that you're really passionate about. And you said, damn, I wish they did this, and I wish they did that, and I wish they did this, and I pay for that. That's what that's all about.
Yeah.
That's behind the scenes. That's VIP access. That's giving somebody a path to say that they are your best customer. And giving them every access they want. They got to pay for it, but it's giving them every access they want. And so to me, this revolutionizes the client and vendor relationship.
Yeah. Well, most entrepreneurs have 2 problems, right? They can hear about this, but they're unwilling to. First of all, I want to ask you, why do you think most entrepreneurs are not willing to do this? And number 2, they also undercharge. And you mentioned charge a premium price, because you got to know your worth, right? So why do you think so many entrepreneurs fall into that category of not charging enough and then not going above and beyond and overpromising and over-delivering?
Yeah. So it's common, and it's way too common. So first off, people think that price is the way to get market share and price is the way to get clients, right? So you start a business, you say, let me discount and I'll get a few people in, and then I'll raise my prices. Well, no, you bought a bunch of discount shoppers in. They're not premium shoppers. You're going to lose those clients. But the second thing is, they either don't believe enough in their product, or they're not fully committed. And that's the bigger issue. So how committed are you to your clientele? Right. And so there was this one restaurant that I know the owner, I'm not going to say the name, but near where I live, during the pandemic, they did curbside. And I said to him, I'm like, listen, pandemic or not, this is freaking great. You should keep doing this. There were a line of people outside for this curbside. As soon as they were allowed to have people back in their restaurant, they stopped the curbside. And that restaurant today is out of business. And I remember, because I liked the guy, and I walked in, I'm like, what the F are you doing? I'm telling you, I don't care that he's like, well, it's a pain in the butt. I got to walk outside. I got to have another person here. I'm like, you had a line around the corner. Now nobody cares.
Things that are worth it are a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And having people out in front of that restaurant makes it look busy.
Which brings more people to it.
Yeah.
Your parking lot's full, dude.
Yeah.
Now it's half full, and so he didn't get it, and he was like, "Whoa," and he made some excuse, and so what a lot of owners do is they do what's convenient to them, not what's fully committed to the client. Yeah. And so and they're afraid to ask. They're afraid to ask for the larger price, because they're afraid of no. Mm-hmm. They're afraid of saying no to somebody, but what they don't realize is they're saying no to the wrong customer, and they're saying yes to the right customer. And if you're charging a premium, you don't need as many customers.
Yep. And those clients and customers are easier to deal with.
Yeah, because they like what you do.
Yeah, but not only that, they're not pinching pennies, a lot of them.
Right.
And it makes them feel better to spend more a lot of times, especially if they're getting value.
Right, exactly. You know? So yeah. I mean, think about it. Think about a band or a musician that you like, right? And they put out a bad album. You're not saying, all right, I'm not listening to them anymore. Right. I'm not going to go to their concert. You're like, all right, you had a bad one. Keep the porch light on for you. You do a good one next time and I'm back in, right? So you'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But if you're not a fan, they put out a bad album, you're like, all right, well, I never liked you all that much anyway. So you want people that are all in. You want your customers all in, but you have to be all in with your customers for them to do that.
And speaking of convenience, you mentioned the word convenience. There's a thing called a convenience store. And I got a brother-in-law that sells Utz for Utz, right?
Yeah.
And he's telling me about the pricing as the convenience stores and then the Walmarts and what they are there and the grocery stores compared to the convenience store. And he can charge way more in a convenience store.
Right. And
he's like, yeah, I don't even know. I'm not sure even why. I'm like, dude, it's called a convenience store.
You're paying for
convenience.
Exactly.
You know, so
I'm saving you time.
Yeah.
There's
value,
you know, and gas. There's a value to that. So I can charge more for that gallon of milk. I could charge more for that pack of gum. Yeah. You want to go to Costco, go to Costco, but it's 10 miles down the road.
You got to deal with a big store, walking through the whole thing.
Stand in line and you got to buy a case.
Yeah.
I'll let you buy one, you know?
So you've done a great job with your brand, but it hasn't always been that way probably. There was a moment where you said, wait a minute, I need to figure out this brand. Was it running into somebody like Ray, or was it something you knew on your own? Or what catalyzed you like knowing I got to build a brand? And then what happened after that?
Yeah, so early in my career, I remember I became the global mentoring director for this organization, and it became the biggest mentoring program in the world at the time. And I remember one day I was doing training on something, and one of the guys in the audience raises his hand and basically asked me, why should I follow the Carl Gould method? And I'm like, what? And in my head, I'm like, well, that's not what I called it. I was just doing a training on a certain skill set, but he called it the Carl Gould method. And that's when I realized I might not be thinking of me as a brand, but everyone else is. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's how I'm perceived, then I either have a small or non-existent brand, or I've got a big, well-known brand. Well, the reality was I had a small non-existent brand, and I'm like, okay, but now I saw how I could build a brand. If I'm in front of people, I can build a name and I can build a reputation. I said, all right. Now I just have to reach more people. How do I reach more people? Okay. And so that's when I got into writing books and, writing blogs, writing articles, doing a lot of public speaking, a lot of training. I used to do a lot of trade shows, still do, but then got into social media and brand building. And then someone like Ray, that we know, he helped me professionalize and formalize.
Yeah. Shout out to Ray Perez, by the way, BA member.
Right on. Yeah. I amp your brand.
And then so after that happened though, what did you notice the difference?
Well, what I noticed right away was, take a step back. Before I had a brand, I remember I had to spend a lot of time convincing people that I was qualified to work with them. Like, well, who are you at the front of the stage? Or who are you at the end of the training table? Why should we be listening to you? I don't need to do that. I still have to explain myself. Of course, the whole world doesn't know who I am, but but I don't have to go through my qualifications as much. So I don't have to explain it as much. And so getting to yes is easier if I'm selling, and I can justify a higher premium for what I do. So by having the brand and having more exposure, people feel like the association with me is more valuable. So therefore I could charge more, and it's helped accelerate my business tremendously.
Yeah. Take note to that.
Yeah.
What happened to me only about 6 years ago, Grant Cardone told me one time, he's like, dude, you're too powerful not to be known globally. You need to get known globally. I'm like, globally? I was in the mortgage real estate business at the time. I'm like, I've been on the cover of regional magazines and then television regionally, and I get that, but globally? He's like, globally. He said, what it'll do for you is get you out of chase mode and create an attraction model.
Right.
An attraction model will make everything that you do going forward, anything you launch, easier. And I started thinking, attraction model, that's great. And he said, you know what's more powerful than you having to explain yourself and you having to speak on stage and do podcasts and all this stuff is other people
explaining you,
telling you people who you are.
And it's the same amount of work. Like you don't building a brand and not building a brand is still the same amount of work, because if you're not brand building, then you're selling harder, marketing harder, and marketing more. So you're going to put the effort in.
Yeah. And when people talk about you to other people and then those people contact you, it's like, what do I need to do to work with you?
Right.
And
they've already warmed you up. They've already teed you up.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing that I found is going back to obnoxious. This is where you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
There needs to be a reason why people follow you. You can't just go running around saying, well, here's what I do. Here's who I am. Because well, who cares?
Yeah.
If you're boring, that's what your brand's going to be.
Yep.
If you suck, that's what your brand's going to be.
Yep.
So you have to bring value. Showing up is a big part of it. Don't get me wrong. You can hustle your way to a few $1 million business, but you got to bring some value along the way so people want you back.
Yeah.
And want more of you.
And people like us have a lot of value to give, and we're also servant-hearted leaders.
Yeah.
And there's a problem. I notice this in the biohacking longevity space right now because Maha, and this is a big deal, right? And marketing, people that are good marketers that don't know what they're talking about with peptides and all these different things, it's dangerous.
Right.
But also with what we do with helping people with their businesses and their money, it can be dangerous for those marketers that are really good that don't really know, they've never done anything, but they're good marketers. Right. And so for me, I wake up every morning with an obligation to drown them out.
Yeah.
I want to drown those people out because feels like a moral obligation to me. And there's too many people out there that are experts that have accomplished something, or they know their stuff in the health world or business world, and nobody knows who they are, and that's unacceptable to me. So
yeah. So there's this whole concept or thought process. If I build it, they will come. Well, just because you build it, they're not coming.
Yep.
People have to know what you're doing.
Yep.
So you want to do something that's of value, but you also have to promote it.
Yeah.
Because you want the data backed, research backed people who are bringing true information and validation for it. You want those people, people's voice to be heard. Marketers tell a good story. And look, a marketer's job is to generate a lead. Mm-hmm. Is to just for you to say, I'm interested, to go, click the link, go to the landing page and find out more. And then that's when it has to kick in. So I don't put too much on the marketers. They have a job to do and their job is to just pique your interest. So you click. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Right. And then beyond that, if you're still listening to a marketer after you do that, shame on you, not shame on them.
But I think it's a game I play. Like Jordan used to pretend everybody was against him and count them out kind of thing. Like that's for me. Like I need that, there's little extra things.
You marketers.
Yeah. Like Tom Brady had these different things. He just wanted to destroy. So as we wind down here, how can people go deeper with Carl Gould?
So go to carl360.com. So CARL360.com. That's the best way to get me. That's the gateway to all the things that I do.
Okay. Carl, it's been a pleasure, man.
Right
Thank you for all that you do, man.
Appreciate
it. All right, guys, that's this episode of the BA Podcast. Your boy C-Roc and Carl Gould. Man, he did a phenomenal job being obnoxious today. Go check him out. Look for the book, Obnoxious Offer, and keep coming back. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and or on your favorite podcast platform, and keep coming back. It's your boy C-Roc signing off from the BA Podcast.